What's up guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, where today we are going to be ranking all of the characters. These are the playable characters in zombies. There are 24 in total, so I am going to be ranking them, in my opinion of course, from what I think are the worst to best. Like I said, this is all in my opinion. It just depends on which characters you prefer to play as, which ones connect with you more. I've based them off their quotes, how funny and interesting they are, and also how their character skin looks as well. So as always, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you drop a like rating by the end, of course, if you want to. If not, it's fine. Make sure you also subscribe to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. But without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. So starting off in at 24 from worst to best. And by the way, I don't mean these are terrible characters. It just means these ones at the top of the list I don't find as interesting or entertaining to play as than the ones down the bottom of the list. It doesn't mean they're bad characters, I don't hate them. It's just if I had to pick, this would be my list. So starting off in at the top, number 24 is Michael Rooker. It was really hard to pick which characters go between around number 19 and 24. They could have really gone in any place. For example, number 20 could have gone at 23, or 24 could have gone at 21. It was really difficult, but I have put Michael Rooker at the top simply because I really didn't connect with the Call of the Dead characters. And out of that bunch, for me, Michael Rooker was just the least interesting. I have nothing against him. I still think he's a pretty cool character, but out of the 4 Call of the Dead characters that we play as, to me, Michael was the least interesting. I didn't think his quotes were that good. His voice kind of annoyed me. I'm not saying he's a bad character, but for me, he was the least interesting. So moving further on down, in at number 23, I have picked Fidel Castro. And the reason I have put him here is because you would imagine him to be a badass character. However, when it comes to the quotes in game, he's not really that. It's again simply because I just didn't feel a connection with him. Usually when I play with a character, that's what I like, along with funny quotes, and I didn't really feel Castro had much of that. He was still a badass character to play as, but he's got to come in for me at 23. Further on down, in at number 22 is Mick Nanera. Again, another character from 5. Nanera for me probably has some of the more memorable quotes. He's actually quite a funny character, but I don't know, it was just his voice that annoyed me. I feel like every time I play 5, I always got this character over the other 3. That may be part of the reason why he's so high up, but he's definitely a funny character. However, he's also a bit of a wimp, which when it comes to things like this, taking out zombies, yeah, you've got to man up a bit. Next up, in at number 21, is Sarah Michelle Gellar. You will notice at the top of this list, it is mostly 5 and Call of the Dead characters. Sarah is one of the only, I think there was 3 girl characters we've ever had playable in COD Zombies. Out of the 3, I think Sarah is the least entertaining. Again, mostly because I didn't play too much Call of the Dead, and I didn't really feel a connection with any of these characters. She does have some really badass quotes. However, again, when I'm playing zombies, you hear their voices quite a lot, and Sarah's was a bit annoying. I feel like for this character, a lot of people would put her further down on your list, but for me, I just don't think she's as good as any of the other characters to come. Next up, in at number 20 is Robert Englund, from again, Call of the Dead. If I'm not wrong, wasn't he Freddy Krueger, which for me instantly puts him further down on this list. I mean, that's pretty cool. He also has some interesting and badass quotes, but nothing too memorable. Unlike a lot of the other characters further down, a lot of their quotes stick in your head, whereas ones from these characters, I honestly can't think of any. Although with the next character on this list, there is one that always comes to me, but we'll get to that. So anyway, Robert Englund, he was alright, but like all of the Call of the Dead cast, I didn't really have an interest in. Although you've got to thank them for helping out the Ultimus crew when they had to get the golden rod. So next up, in at number 19 is Nixon. So I actually really love some of Nixon quotes, and also his accent, the way he talks, was quite funny as well. He's a funny character, although he was quite scared of the zombies. He didn't really know what to do. But I think it's the fact that in 5 you're playing as presidents and important characters makes it that little bit more cooler. And Nixon, in my opinion, has some of the most memorable quotes in COD Zombies. He's definitely, in my opinion, the funniest out of the bunch. Some of the things he says are just stupid, but he's definitely an interesting character. So Nixon's got to come in at 19. And at number 18, we have Danny Trejo. He's simply here because he is a badass. Honestly, if you listen to some of the stuff he says, he's pretty brutal. So Danny Trejo from Call of the Dead comes in there. Now moving further on down to number 17. This is really where things start to get interesting. Like I said, the characters before really could have switched around places, but these ones I feel are pretty fixed. It took me ages to find out which character should go in this place, so from here on, I think these characters all have their spot deservedly, like I said, in my opinion. But in at number 17, I have picked Jessica from Shadows of Evil. Now, she's definitely a good character, and Shadows of Evil is one of my favourite maps. However, I didn't really seem to have a connection with her. I can't remember any quotes that she said. She didn't really, from my memory, come across as a badass character. There's nothing wrong with her character, but with every character below on this list, there's usually something memorable about them, some story that I could say, but with Jessica, apart from her background, which we know, there really is nothing. So that's why I've had to put her there. It's a hard one. I don't really have a reason why, and that's the reason why she's here. just trust me on this. Like I said, maybe you disagree, but that's where she comes for me. Further on down, in at number 16 is Russman. Now, Russman is definitely a cool character. Obviously, he is one of the 4 in the transit crew, but he's definitely the lamest. I mean, yes, he worked for Broken Harrow. He assisted in creating the denizens, the bios. He interacted with 115, which caused him to lose his memory, which you can see within every cutscene from Black Ops 2. Russman half of the time doesn't even know his name. He's a bit dizzy and doesn't understand what's going on, so that pretty much shows why he's my least favourite out of the lot. Again, he's not a terrible character, it's just some of the things he says are quite stupid. He talks a lot in third person, which I mean, yeah, if you don't know your own name, then I suppose I don't even know what's going on with you, mate. For me, Russman had to come in at 16. Further on down, in at number 15 is Misty. Now, Luke, I know why you all like Misty, right? Just, it's odd. Why? I don't even have to say, come on, guys. Seriously? There's one reason why I've had to put Misty here. It's just because her voice. I can't stand hearing her quotes in game. She says some cool things. Occasionally, she's funny. She has a thing with Molten, but it's just hearing her voice. I don't know, it just gets to me. I can't. I don't really like playing as Misty. If it was someone else that voiced her, you know what, she'd probably be further down, but that's just the way it is. Next up, in at number 14, is Billy Handsome from Mob of the Dead. Now, all of the Mob of the Dead characters are cool. They're all gangsters. They've all done bad things, hence why they are in Alcatraz. In fact, Billy Handsome was probably the most badass out of the lot. He killed, I think it was 115 or was it 116 people. He murdered that many people, which led him to be imprisoned on the island. But that's part of the reason why he isn't further down. You would think that would make him say more cool and badass things in game, but compared to the other characters, Sal, Vin and Al, I don't know, Billy he doesn't come across as the other characters do. I don't know if it's his accent or something. He's a cool character, but I don't think he's as cool or interesting as the other mobsters. Next up at 13 is JFK. This is the final 5 character, and in my opinion, the best. Obviously, JFK, a very famous president. It's mostly the quotes he says in game. Also, the way he sounds is very presidential. The way he says things about killing the zombies comes across, again, as very professional, which is weird. Usually when our characters are killing zombies, they just say random crap, which sound funny, but JFK is different. And also, playing as a past president is cool anyway, so JFK definitely had to come here for me. Further on down, in number 12 is Molten. He kind of reminds me of like the male version of Misty. Sometimes they both really annoy me, but the difference with Molten is he's quite smart. He knows his tech. Some of the things he says are very nerdy. Out of the lot, maybe besides from Samuel, he at least seems to know what's going on, which is one of the reasons why I like him. He likes to critique a lot of things, which, I mean, sometimes I'm like, Molten, just shut up. Use the goddamn gun, kill the zombies. I'm going to put Molten in the middle of this list. Next up, in at number 11, is Jackie fucking Vincent. I honestly love Jackie. He is a freaking badass. I would put him further down on this list if these other characters weren't there. There's really nothing I hate about him. He's a cop, which you would think in a zombies game would be quite annoying, but He's kind of like a crooked cop. He's done bad things with criminals, which is kind of why he's in Mug City. We know he's helped arrest the Mob of the Dead crew. A lot about his past is very interesting. And then when it comes to game, he just says some awesome quotes. His character looks cool. Everything about Jack is awesome. So Jack, there you go, number 11. Next up at number 10 is Sal, the second character on this list from Mob of the Dead. Sal was the leader of all of these characters. They all pretty much worked for him. Sal didn't really do the dirty work. He got people like Billy to do it. Obviously, he's a gangster. He's a cool character, which is definitely why he deserves this spot. Further on down, in at number 9, is Floyd Campbell. Again, I love Floyd. We know he's a boxer. If you've seen the Shadows of Evil trailer, he goes around punching the zombies, which looks freaking cool. This guy's hench, right? I love him. I really don't mind playing as any of these Shadows of Evil characters. Just the way his voice sounds, it's got kind of like this deep groan to it. Floyd is definitely one of my favorite characters and is probably also part of the reason why I love Shadows. Going further down to number 8, I have picked the Weasel. I have a feeling the Weasel will be a lot of people's favourite Mob of the Dead character. It's because he's different. He's kind of like the odd one out. He has a massive part to play on the endgame for Mob. We know it all revolves around him because he was killed on the rooftop of Alcatraz prison. At the end of Mob, there is 2 sides to the Easter egg. Either you can break the cycle by the Weasel, getting revenge and killing the other characters, or you can continue it by Finn, Sal and Billy killing the Weasel just like they did originally. He is a rat. He did go behind the characters' backs. He is the one that came up with this, I guess, ingenious plan of escaping the prison via a plane on the rooftop. But he questions a lot of things. He thinks, or well, he knows the other characters hate him. Al is a lot different to the other characters, which is probably the reason why I like him. In at number 7 is Samuel Stuhlinger. Now, Samuel is not only funny, he's not only interesting, but again, like the Weasel, he has a massive part to play compared to the other characters in our zombies storyline. We know he is part of the Flesh. He ate zombies, and so because of that, Edward Richtofen, who at this time was in control of the zombies, can talk to him in his mind. And so, whilst everyone thought that Samuel was crazy, he really wasn't. Richtofen was talking to him all this time, and it was up to him to convince the other characters to do what Richtofen wanted. We also know at the end of the buried Easter egg, depending on which side you do, if you do the Richtofen side of the Easter egg, which wasn't canon to the story, so it didn't actually happen, but Richtofen ends up using Samuel's body. They basically share bodies, so Richtofen could have a physical form down on Earth. He has an interesting story. He's a cool character. For me, he's the best out of the Transit bunch. So getting close to the very bottom, in at number 6 is Finn. Finn is the most badass gangster character out of the Mob of the Dead crew. If you just listen to the stuff he says, also his voice, the way he talks, the way he loves killing the zombies, it's just the stuff he says. Listen to his quotes, you will see why I think he is the number 1 Mob of the Dead character. Although they are all cool, Finn has to come in at number 6. And at number 5 is Nero from Shadows of Evil. Now, okay, maybe the main reason he's here is because it's voiced by Jeff Goldblum. I mean, who doesn't love that guy? But also just because Nero's a super interesting character. It's the way he says stuff. He seems to have some connection to black magic. It sounds like he knew or has read the Canorium. I've done a whole video on that. I've done quite a few videos on Nero actually, just because there's so much about him. Just listen to some of his quotes and you will find out why he's number 5. And then in at number 4, I'm sure you guys know who these last 4 characters are going to be, but I have picked Takeo. I am counting these as both the Primus and Ultimus characters. I would still put them in this order, no matter which set of characters it is. They are all super freaking cool. I have a massive connection with each one of these characters. They all have their different stories. We've played with them for so long, but Takeo for me is just the one that I want to play with the least out of the 4. I don't really know why. There's nothing bad about him. You could say his old Ultimus self was a little bit boring, I guess, but with us playing as his new Primus version, the younger one, for such a long time now, I've gotten to love Takeo a lot more, so I think he deserves the number 4 spot. Number 3 goes to Nikolai, our badass Russian. I was actually debating should I swap number 2 and 3 around, but no, I think Nikolai deserves number 3. We all know about him, I don't really need to tell you much else. In at number 2, we have Dempsey. I know Dempsey is a lot of people's favourite character, and I can see why. He is awesome, but he doesn't quite top number 1 for me. and that is Richtofen. Richtofen, I can't even say his name. Richtofen, for the longest time, has always been my favourite character since World at War, since Darius. His whole background, the scientific part of him, how he's a nerd but also knows what he's doing. He loves killing the zombies. I love the sadistic old side to him, but then I also love the new Primus version of him as well, just because he's helpful. He saved our Primus crew. He didn't have to, he could have left them to die, but it's just the fact that Richtofen is involved with everything. He was the leader of these characters. For me, Richtofen is the best character, and I think he actually makes Call of Duty Zombies. So there we go. That is my list of the top 24 characters. These are all of the playable ones in Zombies. My list from worst to best. Like I said, none of them are terrible. These are just the characters that I would, prefer to play as in order. So there we go. If you have a different opinion, let me know yours in the comment section below. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. And until next time, see you in the next video. Goodbye.